Yo, what is up, guys? Del Boy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. As you can see here in the UK, a real nice December morning. Running some errands right now. I'm out in the sticks. And yeah, good to see, man. Real nice day. Real nice sunny December day. A rarity in the UK. But yeah, just a quick post-fight review for Canelo Alvarez versus Callum Smith. Now, I never watched this fight live. I watched it this morning on DAZN. The reason I never stayed up for it, quite frankly, I was absolutely knackered. I was hungover all of Saturday because of Friday. So I went to bed early. I couldn't really force myself to stay up for it. And I just had this inkling. I had a strong inkling in regards to how this fight would play out, as I laid out in my prediction. And basically, it's the kind of fight I expected. A fight in which Callum Smith goes in there, doesn't really rustle too many feathers, doesn't rattle any cages, and he found his way to the distance. It's what I expected, a wide UD for Canelo Alvarez. So, yeah, it was exactly the sort of fight I expected going into it. But, yeah, you know, Canelo Alvarez was in control throughout. He was the guy who was applying pressure, obviously the much smaller man, but, you know, Callum Smith just never gave Canelo any reason to second guess himself while he was moving forwards. He wasn't really catching Canelo with anything substantial. His jab was quite lazy, quite laboured, which allowed Canelo to slip the jab, get up close, force Callum against the ropes, and then Canelo would really work on Callum Smith. He was throwing good combinations while Callum was on the ropes, working the body, working the head, coming up through the middle with uppercuts, going over the top with the overhand right, left hook to the head. You know, Canelo was just teeing off on Callum when Callum was on the ropes. And yeah, you know, Callum, he fought the exact fight I expected, a pretty circumspect fight in which he's not really forcing the issue or trying to make the most of his size advantage. He just let Canelo come on to him and have his way with him, basically. And yeah, Canelo, what he was doing looked quite impressive. He was picking some real good shots, showed some good hand speed, showed some real nice head movement. But, you know, Callum just really wasn't committing to his shots like he should be, to be honest. Maybe, well, allegedly, Callum Smith injured his bicep in the second or third round. Maybe that's a reason why Callum was so poor in this fight. But, you know, I kind of doubt that excuse for some reason. He never looked like an injured guy in there. He looked like a guy who was holding back for whatever reason. Like I said, there was no commitment to the jab whatsoever. He very rarely let go of hard power shots. At times he did, but it was just too few and far in between. He landed a couple of good shots on Canelo here and there. Some nice right uppercuts which split the guard of Canelo. Some decent overhand rights. But, you know, Callum's moments of success in this fight were fleeting, to be honest. Canelo really dominated it, and he had no reason not to walk down Callum Smith. So a disappointing performance by Callum. But, you know, can I say it was disappointing when I was expecting it? Maybe not. But yeah, you know, Canelo, he'd done his thing. Showed some real good quality in there in regards to defense, offense, cutting the ring off quite effectively against the taller man. You know, Canelo had it all his own way in there. He really did. But yeah, Canelo now becomes the WBC and WBA super middleweight champion. He is now a legitimate 4-weight world champion, so congratulations to Canelo. What's next for Canelo? You know, now he's campaigning at 168. That's what it appears. You know, if you look at Canelo's post-fight interview, he kind of insinuated that 168 is the new division. So there's some options at 168 for Canelo. The most notable options, of course, would be the champions, Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. I've got no problem with those fights, but of course they're unification fights, so I wouldn't have any problem with those fights. You've also got David Benavidez. Now, to me, David Benavidez would actually be the most interesting fight at 168 for Canelo. Although David Benavidez isn't a champion, and maybe he's not as proven as Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders, but to me, David Benavidez, his style is kind of interesting against Canelo. Benavidez, a big guy, he throws a lot of punches, he's got hand speed, he's got power, good punch output, he seems quite durable himself. I think David Benavidez would make for the best fight against Canelo, to be honest. I think Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders, while they are better natural boxers than Benavidez, I think if those two guys fought Canelo, I think what you would see, those guys would be boxing to basically keep Canelo off of them rather than boxing to try and outbox Canelo, if that makes sense. Whereas Benavidez, I think Benavidez would actually try to force the fight. He would try and make Canelo fight, and he would try and fight fire with fire. So to me, Benavidez is actually a more interesting fight than Billy Joe Saunders or Caleb Plant. And obviously you've also got a potential fight with Gennady Golovkin. Say what you want about that fight. I know a lot of people don't want to see the third fight, but at the same time, that is the biggest money fight for Canelo at 168 or 160. That's the biggest money fight for Canelo. So the third Golovkin fight would be interesting to me. I felt Golovkin looked pretty good the other night. And, you know, if you put those two guys in the ring, they're always going to make for some fun fights. So I've got no problem with a third Golovkin fight. If you want me to list those fights in priority, in regards to what I want to see the most, I think Benavidez would be the first choice, Golovkin would be the second choice, Billy Joe Saunders third choice, and Caleb Plant fourth choice. That's how I would lay it out. But, you know, any one of those names I've mentioned, I wouldn't have a problem with. Maybe you could also throw in Andrade, but, you know, quite frankly, I'm not really interested in Andrade right now, if I'm being honest. But yeah, you know, Canelo has options at 168, but the money fight obviously is still Golovkin. But we'll see what happens there. Maybe that's the fight they're trying to do next, Gennady Golovkin, because both guys fought on the same network on the same weekend. I think DAZN obviously still want that fight. You know, it would boost subscription numbers. People would be interested. So I think the Golovkin fight, from a business sense, definitely makes the most sense. But we'll see what happens in regards to Canelo's future. But any one of those fights I've mentioned, I wouldn't really have a problem with, to be honest. But yeah, overall, Canelo Alvarez performed well. He showed some real good quality in there. Good defense, good offense. And he dominated this fight from start to finish. And as for Callum Smith, I have to say I was very disappointed. And I've got to be honest, going forwards, I don't really have much interest in Callum Smith's career, to be honest. I really don't. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually if you see Callum Smith maybe call it a day soon. He won the World Boxing Super Series where he got a lot of money. He's now had this Canelo fight, made a lot of money. And yeah, to me, Callum Smith's never really been a guy who has shown great ambition in the sport of boxing. I think winning that World Boxing Super Series actually kind of hindered his hunger for the sport, to be honest. But there we go. That's just my theory. Maybe Callum Smith's going to come back strong. We'll see what happens. If Callum Smith does come back, I think he needs to move to 175. He's a big guy. Making 168 can't be easy. So if he does come back, I want to see Callum Smith at 175. But yeah, we'll see what happens next in regards to Callum and Canelo. Yeah, overall, a good performance by Canelo. But yeah, it was what it was. It was what it was. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Del Boy. Peace.